Hey everyone, Michael with Bad Goblin Games here, and in this video I'll be walking you through a couple of examples of how we handle combat in Trailer Park Warlords of the Apocalypse. Trailer Park Warlords of the Apocalypse is a game of gangland warfare set in a bizarre post-apocalyptic future. Now, rather than just trying to tell you that we're going to give you some fast and furious, innovative mechanic you've never seen before, instead of that, I really just kind of want to tell you what our goals are with combat. First, we want the results to be easy to interpret. No crunchy math, no table lookups. You look at your dice and your dice tell you what happened. You're not referring back to a book. You're not referring back to a reference sheet. Second, we want cover to matter. I mean, this is a skirmish game. So someone taking cover behind a thick concrete barrier or behind a thick wall should have an expectation of safety from, say, standard small arm fire. Command and control elements have their place in miniature games. They're not in Trailer Park Warlords of the Apocalypse. That's not what this game is about. This game is about duking it out for supremacy of the mega trail parks. We wanted a sweet spot between attrition and instant death, which we believe we've achieved with the use of winded tokens. If you recall, winded reflects a gradual accumulation of the results of combat by first serving more or less as a warning. Then after you've been issued a few more winded tokens, you see the actual effect. And then after you've received a couple more, that gang member is just removed from the game. We also felt it was important to present an element of instant kills, so even the mightiest warlord will maintain a bit of caution. Now, with all that said, let's get on to some examples of combat, and we'll start with ranged combat. Ranged combat takes place anytime an attacking gang member is not in base-to-base contact with the enemy and is attacking with a weapon capable of a ranged attack. This can be a handgun, rifle, shotgun, or even something a bit more primitive, such as a spear or a bow. For our example here, we'll use Lily and we'll use Squirrely. Lily is armed with a simple handgun, whereas Squirrely has a fully automatic or assault rifle. So he can basically spray bullets. The number of dice you roll for a ranged attack is determined by the gang member's shooting attribute as well as the weapon being used. We'll have Lily attack first. Now, the average gang member has a shooting of 3d10, though Lily is a bit more skilled, so she has a shooting of 4d10. So I'm going to take 4d10, kind of put them here so you can see this represents her starting shooting pool. And with her handgun, and she's at long range with her handgun. So at long range, her handgun gives her an additional 1d10. If she was at short range, her handgun would give her an additional 2d10. So she's rolling a total of 5d10 to attack. When rolling a ranged attack, your target number is nearly always a 6. So Lily rolls 5d10 and she's looking for 6s. If you recall from the gameplay video, I mentioned that outside of combat, the number of successes you roll typically does not matter. The opposite is true in combat. In combat, the more successes, the better the result. So let's roll for Lily and see what we get. I will roll 5d10, and remember, I'm looking for 6s. Well, there's a 1, a 5, and a 2. So those are misses. That leaves us with a 6 and a 9. So Lily has 2 successes. Armor in Trailer Park Warlords of the Apocalypse doesn't make you harder to hit. Rather, armor reduces successes. Squirrely is wearing no armor, and so all of Lily's successes count. Squirrely now has to make a damage check to see how Lily's attack actually affects him. The target number for a damage check is 5 plus the number of successes. So in this case, since Lily has 2 successes, Squirrely's damage check target number is a 7. Damage checks are rolled with 2d10 So Squirrely is going to roll 2d10, and he's looking for a 7. I'll move these out of the way. I will roll, and I have a 4 and a 2. That's a failure. There are two types of failures you can have when you're rolling a damage check. This is what we refer to as a normal failure. With a normal failure, Squirrely is simply issued a winded token. Now, I did mention the aspect of instant kills. So every weapon has a kill number associated with it. Basically, the more lethal the weapon, the higher that kill number. So if you fail a damage check, as Squirrely did here, and at least one of the dice is equal to or lower than the weapon's kill number, then that gang member is instantly dead and just removed from the game. Now, at long range, Lily's handgun has a kill number of 0, so it actually cannot result in an instant kill at long range. If she were closer at short range, then her kill number is a 1. So at long range, it's a 0, and so she cannot actually just outright kill Squirrely. The only thing she can do is inflict winded tokens. Now let's move on to Squirrely. Squirrely isn't quite as skilled, so he only has a shooting of 3d10. However, at close range, his assault rifle grants him an additional 3d10. So he's rolling a total of 6d10. So Squirrely is going to roll, and again, he's still looking for 6s. And let's see what we have here. That's actually a pretty good roll. There's only one miss in there. Now, so that one's a 4. Everything else is a 6 or higher. Now, some weapons have special traits. For example, Squirrely's assault rifle possesses the full auto trait, which allows him to re-roll misses. So he gets to re-roll this one. And now he rolled a 7, so that is another success. Now let's interpret these results here. First off, they're all successes because they're all 6 or higher. The second thing we look at here is one of these is a 10. Anytime you are making an attack and you have a 10 in there, you automatically inflict a winded token. Doesn't matter how many 10s you roll. So even if Squirrely had 3 10s in here, it's still just one winded token. Okay. Now with that said, there is an apocalypse card that you can play that you can inflict multiple winded tokens. So you would inflict a winded token per 10 roll. But in this case, we only have the 110, so she gets one automatic winded token. Lily is wearing a little bit of armor that grants her 1 point of damage resistance or 1 point of DR. Now remember, armor doesn't make you harder to hit, it reduces successes. So with 1 point of DR, she removes 1 of Squirrely's successes, and she can't remove that 10. So Lily's player can't say, okay, I'm going to remove the 10. That way that winded token doesn't get issued. That's not allowed. So now she has to make a damage check. Her damage check starts at a 5 plus the number of successes here. So she actually needs a 10. So let's get these out of the way. I'm going to roll 2 dice for her damage check, and I need a 10. Well, there is an 8 and a 2. She needed a 10. Neither of those are a 10. They are both failures. Now let's go back to our kill number we talked about a few minutes ago. At short range, the kill number for this assault rifle is a 2. So since Lily failed both of these, since neither of these are a success, and at least one is equal to or lower than the kill number of Squirrely's weapon, Lily is gone. She's dead. If this were a little bit higher, say a 5, still both fail, but it's just a normal failure, so at that point she would receive a second winded token. As mentioned earlier, cover matters in Trailer Park Warlords of the Apocalypse. I mean, we can see here, standing out in the open, Lily didn't fare too well, right? So let's go over a brief example of how cover can benefit her. So instead of standing out in the open, let's say Lily was taking cover behind this thick concrete barricade. As with armor, cover does not make you harder to hit. Rather, cover grants you additional DR. In this case, this barricade grants Lily an additional 3 points of DR for a total of 4. So let's say Squirrely attacks and manages, we'll say he managed 5 successes. We'll just say all these are successes, right? Thanks to Lily's armor, and more importantly, the cover granted by this barricade here, she's only left to contend with 1 success from Squirrely's attack. So just to kind of show you that real quick, removing this, that represents Lily's 1 point of DR from her armor. Then we remove 3 more for that barricade. So now she only has 1 success left to contend with. That would make her damage check a 6 rather than a 9, which is be significantly easier to manage. Now let's move on to an example of hand combat using Jethro and our little armadillo pal here. Jethro is armed with a huge 2-handed weapon, while the armadillo is armed with a basic spear and shield. The basic mechanics with hand combat are exactly the same as range combat, with one exception. The target number you need to hit is more dynamic and depends upon the opponent's total fighting attribute. So rather than always looking for a 6, you need to roll whatever your opponent's fighting is. So this means more skilled opponents are more difficult to hit in hand combat, as they're just better at fending off attacks. Let's walk through that now, and we'll give Jethro here the first attack. Jethro isn't a skilled warrior possessing a fighting of only 2d10, so that's below even, say, your average gang member. However, his weapon grants him an additional 4d10, so he has a total fighting of 6d10. The armadillo is more skilled, possessing a fighting of 3d10, though his spear only gives him additional 2d10 for a total fighting of 5d10. Jethro attacks first, and remember that his total target number is equal to the armadillo's total fighting of 5d10. So Jethro is rolling 6d10, and he's looking for 5s. Here's my roll. Again, I'm looking for 5s. That's a miss. That's a miss. That's a miss. We have 3 successes left. Now, the armadillo here possesses a little bit of armor. He has some natural armor, so that removes 1 success. And he has a shield there, which removes another success. So he is left with 1 point, or 1 success rather, to contend with. So he makes his damage check. It's exactly the same as range combat, 5 plus the number of successes. So he needs a 6, and I rolled a 5 and a 2. So again, we have a failure, and again, this just happens to be a kill. In hand combat, nearly all of your hand weapons have a kill number of 2, whereas in range combat, much more varied. But in hand combat, most weapons have a kill number of 2. So again, Armadillo needed a 6. He rolled a 5 and a 2, so he failed, and at least one of those is equal to or lower than the weapon's kill number, so Armadillo would be dead out of the game. However, let's complete our example, and we'll have the armadillo attack. So he rolls 5d10, though he's rolling against Jethro's total fighting of 6. So the armadillo needs 6s to hit here. Well, there's a failure right there. There's a 4. Then we have a 7, 10, 10, 10. So that was, I guess, an exceptionally good roll there. So we have a 10, so that's an automatic winded token. Now remember, more 10s don't matter. So he's not going to get, even though I rolled 3d10, he's not getting 3 winded tokens. Again, there is an apocalypse card that if the armadillo's player happened to have in his hand, he could play, which would allow all these to count, which would then give Jethro 3 automatic winded. Though if he doesn't have that card, he's just getting the 1 winded token. Now Jethro is wearing no armor, So his total damage check is 5 plus the 4. So he needs a 9. And looky there. We have a 2 and a 10. So he needed a 9, so he passed. There's the 10. That 2 doesn't matter. He only needed one of these to be a success. If he had not rolled that 10, say he rolled a 7, and then there was that 2, he would also be dead. But in this case, he had a 10 and a 2. We only needed one of those to be a success, so Jethro passes his damage check. Well, that's going to do it for our example of combat in Trailer Park Warlords of the Apocalypse. As always, please let us know if you have any questions or comments. Thank you.